Here, hey, this is kind of a first for me, but let's talk about WatchMojo, probably one of the biggest quote-unquote comfort food offerings on the YouTubes. WatchMojo, of course, does very professional top 10 videos of all kinds of different subjects you can think of. I'm sure everyone pretty much knows what WatchMojo is. I don't really need to get into a ton of explanation on them. They've been very hit or miss for me. Sometimes they'll come to light with a pick that I'm like, all right, well done. That's a deep cut. That definitely deserves some appreciation. Other times they'll be ridiculous. I distinctly remember their top 10 moments of 2015. They put the whole Glenn debacle from The Walking Dead on there because it's popular, apparently. Just because The Walking, I mean, forget the fact that that whole Glenn thing basically made me not want to watch the show anymore. No, that was like number 2 or 3 on the whole list. So WatchMojo's got a little bit of a hit or miss of a track record in my end, and this is a video, I just noticed it, and I was like, oh my god, I'm sure I'm going to have some things to say about this, and so I better just put myself on camera watching this. So it's the top 10 underrated animated Disney films. Big subject for me. I love my Disney classics, but I even love them more when they're underrated and they're not oversaturated in everyone's face. So I'm curious, are they really going to pull some deep cuts? Are they going to say, like, first of all, it'll be hilarious if there's movies on here that obviously aren't underrated, and then they're like, oh, this is so underrated. So are they going to get it right or not? I mean, for my money, if Rescuers Down Under isn't number 1, they got it wrong. But we'll see how it goes. So like I said, this is just kind of a fun little, like, me reacting to a YouTube video. Don't take it too seriously. I'm not taking it too seriously. I'm just having some fun with it. But I'm just going to give you all my overall reactions to this thing as it comes. So that in mind, let me turn up my volume a little. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for playing WatchMojo audio. Okay, turn the volume up, and here we go.
For this list, we've looked at any feature animated by Disney
Atlantis
that hasn't received the fanfare that it perhaps should have.
But we won't get that.
There's the Rescuers Down Under right there. Good.
Films that consistently get overlooked.
May the best
Teacher's Pet. Really?
Number 10, Dinosaur.
No! Dinosaur sucks ass and deserves the reputation that it has. There's no way. There's no way that Dinosaur is a great movie or that it deserves to be appreciated.
The 5th highest grossing movie of 2000 and that year's most financially successful animated feature. Upon release, Dinosaur was praised for its pioneering visuals of a prehistoric
Yeah, it
setting.
was good visuals, but the story was shit. The characters were shit. You had that one guy, the love monkey. He was shit.
However, in other aspects, the film fared indifferently with critics.
Yeah.
Its writing failed to wow as much as the aesthetics.
What an unfortunate blemish.
Despite that,
It was basically
Dinosaur
the
should
Avatar
surely
of
be
its
better
time.
remembered. This post-meteor imagining of Earth was an animation game-changer. The CGI/real-world blend breathed new life into the
I mean, in a way, it is kind of funny that no one
Still
ever
ranks
talks
as
about
one of
this in
Disney's
terms of,
best.
the impact it had special effects wise. But it's just not a very good
Number 9,
movie, man.
The Aristocats.
I would wager to say The Aristocats is, like, not even underrated.
A film noted for being the last
Turn this
feature
down a little
approved
so I
by
can
Walt
talk.
Disney himself before the animator's death in
Yeah, it was approved by
1966.
Walt. That
The
doesn't mean it was a
Aristocats
great
is more than
movie.
just a pleasing play on words, with Eva Gabor taking.
You
the
know
lead
what, though?
in
This is a pretty
aspects.
solid pick because you've got
The film follows
You've got a
the
great
journey
Phil
of the
Hartman
Disney
performance in
as they
here.
seek to evade Edgar,
Villain's
the
pretty
greedy
weak.
butler.
Of course, madam. How could anyone forget his...
Yeah, that
Set in
guy's
Paris,
among the weaker
there's a
Disney
certain je ne sais
villains.
quoi about this film and its characters.
Bravo!
It is very laid back. I'll give it that. It's a very laid back movie. Most of it just kind of takes place in the countryside.
The spider waiting for the
Yeah, it is overshadowed by 101 Dalmatians, but 101
As
Dalmatians is a
Disney's
way better
domesticated
movie.
classic, these cats deserve their cream, and we're gonna
Fair
give
enough.
it to them.
Fair enough, Mojo.
Number 8.
Oh,
Brother Bear.
God. This is what I was afraid of. No. Okay.
You see in black and white or color? A spiritual
God
saga
damn it.
through world
Brother
USA.
Bear is a movie
Brother
I'm
Bear was
conflicted
originally
about personally because it's got
as
some
an
good
American
elements in it and it's also got some terrible elements in it. Speaking of the terrible elements.
Tough act to follow. The film also struggled to stand out against Finding Nemo.
Right,
The Pixar
right.
effort
That came out the
released in
same year. Yeah.
But
But Phil Collins, man, the Phil Collins soundtrack ruined this movie.
Brother Bear brightens up the Disney formula like few other films.
I mean, I'm not a bear.
How?
I hate bears.
How did it brighten up the Disney formula? What did they do different with the Disney formula?
Kenai's story is a life lesson for all little kids, and some
A life lesson that gets
Well, Yoda
that
is
gets
just
taught over like a fucking melodramatic Phil Collins song.
Number 7. The
Princess and the Frog. Yeah, I wouldn't even. Is that underrated?
I reckon you
Is it underrated? Really? Do people really consider Princess and the Frog underrated?
A modern take on various traditional
My whole thing
tales.
with Princess and the Frog is that it just came out the
was on
week before
receiving end of
Avatar did,
3
so it got
Oscar
crushed at the box office. But
Not bad for a 197-year-old blind lady. However, it's another example of an excellent movie denied the limelight by
I don't-
Pixar. who released
I
it
don't
up
necessarily
in 2009
think
as well.
this is underrated, though. I think everyone who likes this movie really likes it. I don't know.
Nevertheless, critics rank The Princess and the Frog as a
Sad that
turning
it's
point
basically
in
going to be the
Disney's
last
history,
traditional
as it ushered in
animated
a
movie
so-called
by Disney.
neo-Renaissance at the start of the 2010s.
The Neo Renaissance, is that what they're calling it? The Neo Renaissance? That's dumb. Yeah, I don't know, man. People were talking about this movie. You know, you got Dr. Facilier in there. You got the New Orleans setting. It was a.
Saw the studio return to
I think
traditional
most
animation.
people appreciate this
Started a
movie.
string of high-profile
I think
titles
Winnie the
with
Pooh is the
animation.
2D movie that is
Not to
really
mention, it was the flick
underappreciated.
that introduced Disney's first African-American princess.
There we go.
Boy, did she make an impact.
Oh, aren't you just as pretty as a magnolia in May?
Number 6. Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah, this one is genuinely underrated. I'll give it that.
A story that zaps all over the
It's
space
not
time
the most even movie in the world. Like, I think the second act falls apart,
Typically Disney
but it's got a lot of really good setup to it.
Wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Wants to build a time machine. So he starts working. We're talking plans. We're talking scale models. We're talking.
It's just got such a high energy to it that it's like it's almost like ADD.
It's the first Disney film released following a Disney.
Of course, it has the whole
John Lasseter as chief creative
keep
officer.
moving forward
His
message from
eye
Walt
for
Disney.
creative detail is clear throughout.
Why is your dog wearing glasses?
Oh, because his insurance won't pay for contacts.
Meet the Robinsons is a potentially tragic orphan story turned into an inspiring, uplifting.
Yeah, it has a lot of really good elements going on with the orphans, that's for sure.
You gotta make the right choices.
Its cast of original characters well and truly shook up the Disney status quo.
Not entirely, considering this movie's underrated, but hey, I guess that's why this is on this list.
Number 5. Treasure.
Yes, yes, Treasure Planet is entirely underrated. It's a fucking great movie. Oh my god, just look at the design on Silver. I mean, come on.
Ideas for Treasure Planet were actually pitched alongside those for The Little Mermaid, the movie credited by most as beginning Disney's late 80s revival.
They think they know everything. You give them an inch, they swim all over you.
However, Treasure Planet was put on hold for over 10 years, and when it was released, it received an undeservedly modest response. A futuristic rethink.
Yeah, I remember it, man. Like, I remember going to the theater to seeing it and being blown away, but nobody was talking about it.
All that treasure is on the boat right away.
A gaggle of memorable side characters,
I'm
Mhm.
sorry, my memory isn't what it used to be. I lost my mind.
and Silver as the bad guy with a big heart.
Didn't your pap ever?
Silver is one of the big underrated
Shivering
Disney
Timbers
villains for
should be a
sure.
classic.
It's not the map, we're dead. If we try to leave, we're dead. If we stay here,
We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead.
Number 4. Atlantis.
Atlantis and Treasure Planet right next to each other.
if I
They're practically like an A side and a B side of the same album in Disney terms.
What I wanted to hear.
Another animation.
But yeah, Atlantis is fucking awesome. It's like the most anime-style Disney movie ever. I think all the Disney fans who really know this movie very much appreciate it. But yeah, it doesn't get the attention it deserves for sure.
Is an action-adventure tale the likes of which live-action cinema had been aching to accomplish for years.
I want to see a live-action remake of Atlantis, actually.
However, Atlantis was the first foray into science fiction that Disney ever made.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the first and one of the last.
A movie perhaps best remembered for the comic book style of Mike Mignola. It was deliciously
Hellboy.
fresh and fantastically dynamic.
Yeah, you got that right.
Number 3, The Rescue.
Only number 3, boo!
Trouble.
Boy.
This should be number 1.
What kind of boy?
He was kidnapped.
Kidnapped. Oh, that's awful.
The second film to feature within Disney's
Oh my God.
early 90s renaissance.
No, this movie
The
is just
Rescuers Down Under
everything.
continually ranked under the other films of that period.
Which is a shame. It's a total shame. This movie is like the best film of that time
Little Mermaid
period.
smashed expectations, while titles like Aladdin and The Lion King only further established the newly rejuvenated brand.
I didn't make it all the way through 3rd grade for nothing.
But
That voice right there, George C. Scott is the villain. Come on, that's the reason why this movie rocks.
They all come in with a whimper and be really good.
some parts, though, have always been held in the highest of regard, particularly the flight scene.
Yeah, the flight scene is a classic, I think. I think that people are studying it more and more now.
People flying through Australian skies. It's animated awesomeness.
It is. It was one of the first animated pictures I saw as a kid, and it blew my mind.
The Great Mouse Detective.
Great Mouse Detective is definitely underrated. It's not as underrated as Rescuers Down Under, I don't think.
And a Sherlock Holmes adaptation unlike any other.
What's number one going to be? Is number one going to be like the Black Cauldron? I don't know. Jeez, I'm kind of scared.
Released in 1986, The Great Mouse Detective saw Victorian England awash with talking
Ratigan.
and mice.
What did you call me? Oh, he didn't mean it, Professor. It was just a snake.
Yeah, Ratigan
I
is
am not
is
The
amazing.
film was more important to Disney than its reputation would suggest, though. It came at a time when faith in the brand was waning.
Mm-hmm.
But after relative success, it encouraged producers and management to back future projects, setting the stage
Yeah, this
for the
isn't really a
massively
bad list.
successful movies that followed.
Although number one could
Always
blow
a
it.
chance, Doctor.
A Goofy movie
More
should
than
be on
elementary,
here somewhere.
It's excellent.
Amazing. Actually, it's elementary, my dear Dawson.
Before we unveil our number one pick, here are some
Meh.
honorable mentions.
Hey, this
Oliver and Company never really gelled well with me.
we may have moments-
Wreck-It Ralph is fine, but I don't think it's underrated. I think people appreciate that movie just fine.
Skull like sparrow's egg between thighs. And I say, Zangief, you are bad guy. But this does not mean
You are bad guy.
It's a vacation.
Oh, there it is, a Goofy movie. I'm glad it at least got an honorable mention. Okay, fine, I'll take it.
It's not exactly what I
I'm glad this movie's not on the actual list, Teacher's Pet.
That's nothing to shake your tail at.
Number one, The Black
Oh.
Cauldron.
I called it! I called it!
So that's
I don't... This movie's fascinating. This movie is fascinating. I will give it that. It's unlike any other Disney film ever. It's like deeply entrenched in like dark fantasy, like J.R.R. Tolkien's type stuff. There's never going to be another Disney film like it ever again. But at the same time,
The Black Cauldron has finally built up a fan base.
I wouldn't have it as number one. I would have it on this list. I just think number one is a little extreme. Because I think it's noticeable. You know, I think it is like a notable movie in the Disney canon, especially in this internet day and age, because people are talking about it. People do remember it. It's funny because it's a memorable movie specifically for how unmemorable it was at the time and how much it kind of flew by under everyone's radar. Yeah, Horn King is fucking
Do
amazing.
you agree with our list?
fun fact.
For the most part, Mojo, yes, more than I thought I would.
which animated film is still unappreciated?
What's that supposed to be?
For more
Goofy
praiseworthy
movie.
top 10s published every day, be sure
Or the
to subscribe
DuckTales
to
movie. The DuckTales movie is really underappreciated. Okay, that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed that. It was just kind of a little fun bonus video that I decided to record because, you know, the subject of animated, underrated Disney films kind of gets me, it gets me fired up when it's not done right. And I think this list was fine. There were a couple of them that I would argue are underrated. Like, I still don't think Princess and the Frog would qualify as underrated. I think Dinosaur... the only thing I would give Dinosaur that's underrated is the actual, like, effects and the kind of the impact Dinosaur had. Other than that, it's a shit story, and it deserves the reputation that it has. I mean, the top 5 is very solid. You know, you got Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Great Mouse Detective, and Rescuers Down Under. Black Cauldron, I'm honestly a little bit surprised to see Black Cauldron as number 1. I guess it's just WatchMojo figures. It is kind of like the most infamous, like, forgotten Disney movie. But that's the thing, because it's so forgotten, because it's so infamous for being forgotten, I think it's kind of like retroactively becoming not underrated anymore. But yeah, seriously, like, go out and see all these films besides maybe like Dinosaur, because Dinosaur I could care less about, and I don't care to watch that movie ever again. But decent list, WatchMojo. You know, you did good. You did good. I really wish that Goofy movie would have gotten on the actual list, but oh well, I'm glad it's an honorable mention. So that's it. I'm sorry if this is just like an overall waste of time. It was just a spur of the minute decision for me to get on air like, oh, I bet I have some strong opinions on this. And turns out WatchMojo pretty much nailed it. This is one WatchMojo list where I don't necessarily agree with the placement. I don't necessarily agree with 1 or 2 of the things that got on the list. Like, I think Aristocrats is just wholly mediocre, and I don't necessarily think it's underrated. I think the people that like that movie, fine, like that movie. That's totally cool. Do you? But it's not, like, really a classic or anything like that. I would actually put Fox and the Hound above the Aristocrats if it was me, because Fox and the Hound, man, that's a meaty story. That's like a super tragic subject matter. So I guess that is it. I will go ahead and sign off. Thanks you all for watching, and see you all on the flip side. Yeah.